Welcome to the NavBall in orbit tutorial for the Unity NavBall asset. So the demo scenes provided with the asset include a Orbit 2 camera and an orbit cockpit view. I'll just start this up here. And what we end up with is a vehicle that's in orbit and with a NavBall that's referenced to the local horizon, even though the vehicle itself is moving in a circle around a planet. And we're going to show how to set up that scene. So we'll stop that, we'll do a new scene, and we'll get started. So to begin with, we'll just add a sphere to the scene here, and we'll change the scale of the scene of the sphere to 1000. And it's located at the origin. And the scale of 1000 gives us a radius of 500. And then just to add a little bit of visual interest, we'll go to the images and we'll take this Earth texture and put it on top. And then we'll get started by going to the prefabs and finding the vehicle we want, this aircraft rotated prefab, and putting it in the scene. And we will locate it at 550 so that it's 50 units above the surface of the planet, and we'll change the rotation so that it's pointed in the -z direction, so that means we want to be 0, 90, and 0. So that puts our vehicle in the scene. We can zoom in on it, and then this time we'll use the local attitude direction indicator, so the ADI in cockpit prefab. So we'll grab that prefab and drop it on the aircraft. And we'll make it just a little bit bigger, so we'll say 0.2. And then we'll just take the position here and, and just move it up a little bit and move it a little bit closer down to the back here. So notice that in the aircraft there's a cockpit view camera, and that's sort of showing us the NavBall, the wings of the vehicle, and the background. So let's get rid of the main camera so that that cockpit camera becomes our main view. And then let's go to the cockpit camera and just turn off this skybox in favor of a more space-like black background. So now we need to configure the attitude indicator that's attached to the aircraft, and in order to do that we need to take the NavBall sphere and say that that's going to be the ball object controlled by the attitude indicator. The ADI camera is already set to the cockpit view, so that's okay. And then the remaining item that we have is we have a reference frame object, so we need to create one of those. So let's just add an empty game object. We'll call it reference frame. And we will give it the same position and orientation as the spaceship. So we'll make it we'll make it 550, we'll make this 0, and we'll make this 90 in the same way we did for the spaceship. And that's all good. And now we have a spaceship at a fixed position above a planet with a NavBall that's wired up. So if we press play at this point, we can see that as we pitch up, First of all, we're going to take that cockpit view and just rotate it so that we see the surface of the planet a little bit. Just makes it a little more visually interesting. And now we will we forgot to assign the reference frame, so that's a good lesson for why it wasn't working. So we'll go in here, we'll take the reference frame object, drop it onto the appropriate slot in the attitude indicator, and now when we press play, we can pitch up, we can pitch down, and for our statically positioned spaceship in orbit, things are working as we would expect. So now let's go ahead and add some orbital motion. So there's a very simple script provided with the asset to do circular motion called circular motion. It has a slot around object. We want to be in motion around the sphere. There's a frequency. We want to go not too quickly, so we'll call it 0.3. And we'll explain the other fields in a second. So let's begin just by pressing play. So we can now see that there is something going on, and if we look at the scene view and look at the sphere and select the aircraft, we can see what's happening is the vehicle is moving in a circle around the Earth, but its reference frame is staying fixed. It's pointed in the same absolute direction. So the Earth appears to be moving in and out of view, but if we look at the game view here, the NavBall itself is maintaining a fixed orientation because with respect to its reference frame, the ship is not rotating. If we go to the circular motion script and check this box, rotate with orbit, what now happens is as the ship rotates, it continues to point in the forward direction, but our reference frame is still absolute. So if we play the scene now, what we see is that the ship is rotating with respect to its fixed reference plane, and its local view, because it's rotating with its circular motion, you always see the horizon as you rotate. If we want to have the NavBall show you a local horizon reference, then what we do is we go to the reference frame, we add a circular motion script, we set the center object, match the frequency we had in the other component, and also check rotate with orbit. And now the reference frame will rotate at the same rate as the vehicle, and that means that the NavBall, which shows the relative change in position, will show the constant horizon. So if we play, so now even though we are in the scene rotating around, you can see our forward direction is pointing forward of the reference frame, and that's exactly matched by the forward motion of the vehicle if we pick the vehicle as our in the editor here. And that's why when we look at the game scene, the NavBall is now showing the local reference. I hope that helps you get started with NavBall in orbital scenes. Thanks for your attention.